On everybody, Coach Mike here with Strength Coach Thoughts Podcast. Before we get started, if you like these headbands that I wear, as usual, use code Coach Mike for 15% off your order. They are vertical athletics headbands. They have solid designs, patterns. They got sun scarves. They got fleece headbands. These are active cooling headbands. So you get them wet, you wring them out, you shake them around a little bit, and they start actively cooling off. They get really cold. So they're really nice here in the Texas heat in the summer and humidity and all that. So, also before we get started, cheers. It's already open because I'm coming off the tail end of the first Gladiator Weightlifting League meet of 2025. So this was my clean and jerk C4, not to be confused with my snatch C4, not to be confused with the C4 pre-workout, for warming up. So yes, my heart's doing some work today. But I also did some work. I finished 132, 165 for a 297 total. Not my best total, but I was definitely coming in only planning on getting a total on the board. We have 4 more meets for the Gladiator Weightlifting League, and it goes off Sinclair. So it goes off Best Sinclair at the end of the year at the culmination of the 5 total meets. So my only goal today was to come in, hit a total, and then go from there. So 132, and then I went 137. I missed. Should have had it. I just wasn't able to pull it back and stand it up. And then I went 141 for a GWL comp PR. And for some reason, as soon as I broke the floor, I lost my hook grip, which I've never done before. And once I lost the hook grip, the bar spun out of my hands, and that was that. So clean and jerks. I had one of my teammates on the Attitude Nation here, one of my competitors coming against me today. He opened a well, he had 40 on the board, and then he went up to 45 for his opener. I had 50, so then we were neck and neck. And then, after coming in the third attempts, he was playing some games with me, trying to push us, around a little bit. So I just put 65, let him go. He hit great CJ. And then, I had to lock in and hit my 65 CJ. I went 50, 55, 65, which – to be fair, I've done 71 in comp in my last GWL in December. I went 40-71 for my 311 total. This GWL, I was planning on probably finishing around 60. And then depending on how everything depending on how everything went, I was in my head between 60 and 65. So realistically, it's nothing I couldn't do. It wasn't a crazy jump for me going from 55 to 65. That's pretty normal training jumps for me. But I wasn't planning on doing that today. And then my teammate and competitor against me came out and kind of pushed me to have to make that jump and have to make that lift ultimately, or else he would have won. So, like I said, it's I think I took first place for this meet, but it's off of Sinclair, so I don't know. As far as weight on the bar, I lifted the most, but as far as Sinclair goes, I don't know. I was pretty conservative with my lifts, and I only made my opener on snatch. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, there's 4 more meets, plenty of time to come back and see what I can do each meet. So if you're interested in the Gladiator Weightlifting League, go to doweightlifting.com, and there should be a Gladiator Weightlifting League button up there. You click on that, and you'll register. It's $125 for the remaining 4 meets total, so you pay 1 fee for all the meets. If you would have signed up earlier, you would have paid $125 for all 5 meets. I think it's $125. Don't quote me on that, but basically you pay 1 fee, you get all the meets you get. So the sooner you sign up, the more meets you get for your money. And then there is cash prize at the end for the winners. Again, based on Sinclair, so it doesn't matter what the weight on the bar you lift is. It matters how much you lift in relation to your body weight. So there's a very conservative press out rule. You use whatever equipment you need. Basically, we have a Zoom link. Greg Doucette puts the Zoom link out on the Gladiator Weightlifting League Facebook page, and then you log into the Zoom wherever you're at. Use whatever equipment you have, pounds, kilos, we don't care, and you just lift weights. It's true. Everything I've complained about. Basically, we took all of my complaints about USAW and the way that IWF and USAW is running weightlifting now, and we got rid of all the dumb rules, and we just made it back to weightlifting again. Basically, get the bar over your head, snatch a clean and jerk. As long as it's not like a muscle snatch press out, you're good. If your elbow dips, we don't give a shit. If it's a good lift, it's a good lift. I mean, if it looks good, it's good. So it gets rid of all the bullshit. Crank your music, have some fun. We have an official board that Greg Doucette does a very good job of running. John North is he commentates in the background as it goes, and it's a highly competitive league that they're running that I'm glad to be a part of. So if you're interested, do weightlifting.com, click on the Gladiator Weightlifting League button, and then go ahead and register there. And then we do 24-hour weigh-ins as well. So you weigh in 24 hours ahead of time. You give your openers, and then of course you move your openers around as you need to. Very very loose 20-kilo rule. We don't. It's just hit with just lift. Just do weightlifting. That's what we're trying to do with this league is just do weightlifting. All the other dumb rules are dumb. Like we're done with them. Like just lift weights in a competitive environment. All right, so today's podcast, episode 12 question mark. Think of this as a complimentary episode to last week's episode with Carl Austin. I brought Carl on. So like I said, I mentioned in last week's episode, and if you didn't see it, I'm going to link it in the little button thing up here, wherever up here. It'll be right here. Go ahead, watch that episode either now or after, or either before this episode or after. It's not going to really matter. You'll have a little more understanding of what I'm talking about if you watch it first, but you're not going to miss out if you watch it afterwards. Just make sure you do watch it with like in relation to this episode, because this episode's not going to make a lot of sense then if you haven't seen that episode. Carl Austin, women's basketball primarily. He coaches other sports. I started with him as a volunteer coach at UTSA. Last summer, I kind of came in. I'm helping a lot with the weightlifting side of things. So I work a lot with basketball, volleyball, track and field, a lot of the Olympic sports, in perfecting the weightlifting movements in order to get maximal power output. I'm not making them weightlifters, but the more efficiently we can weightlift, the better power production they're going to get out of the movements. And then kind of bringing a new mindset, a new approach to the way they're approaching the Olympic lifts and the way they're approaching strength and conditioning in general. So that's how I got involved there. That's how I met Carl. Carl's an awesome dude. He's a great coach. Phenomenal with the athletes. Gets buy-in, almost instantly. He really cares about the athletes and their success. And he's a great young coach coming up in the field. So very excited to work with him. I'm very happy I get to work with him. And I'm excited that he takes what I say and actually applies it and sees it in action with his athletes. Right. So in short, what we discussed in our last episode with Carl was using the percentage tiered system, right? The Pendlay percentage system with collegiate athletics. Now, I've talked multiple episodes about this, but back in episode whatever, when I talked about is exercise science become too much science and too little exercise, I talked about how coaches now are largely looking for minimum effective dose. What's the least we need to do in the weight room to get our results, right? So let's look at football, for example. Like, what's the least we need to do in the weight room to get a stimulus and get them out to practice? We don't want to overload them. We don't want to put too much on them, too much, blah, 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 right? Kind of that soft mentality. What we are doing with the Pendlay method and the weightlifting style program that Glenn Pendlay got from Ibajev, from the Bulgarian system, it is that maximal effort, right? Now, hear what I'm saying. It is not a max out every day program. We're not maxing out every day. We are going to maximal effort in the lifts, but you'll have maybe 2 days a week of the classic lifts. And what I mean by that, so right now I'm talking about the Pendlay method in weightlifting. What I mean by that is when I say classic lifts, I mean the snatch and the clean and jerk. And I mean the purest snatch and clean and jerk from the floor, full depth, weightlifting. Maxing out in those, you might have once, or you definitely have it once a week with Big Friday or, Singlet Saturday, whatever day you do it on. You might have it somewhere else in the week where you're doing a max snatch or a max CJ from the floor, or, you're doing that. The rest of the week, though, is max effort. And what that means is you're maxing out in a complex or in a variation of the snatch and clean and jerk. So Tuesday might be a waterfall snatch, right? So you do a snatch, and then you do a high hang low or high hang snatch, a mid hang snatch, and a low hang snatch, right? Um, the you'll do that to a maximal weight, but it's sub maximal from your maximal snatch, because you're not gonna. If I can snatch 150, I am not gonna complex 150. That's not gonna happen. And if I do, then I'm snatching more than 150 from the floor. Or I have things I need to work on that is position stuff for some reason. Um, I say that, but my hip snatch is higher than my floor snatch, which does make sense because you don't have as many positions to get through in a hip snatch, but it's only just higher, so it's a good ratio. But anyway, so the Pendlay method, the max effort method is just that. You're giving maximal effort in the complexes, where the complexes themselves are safeguarded to probably 70, 80, maybe 90% of your actual classic lift. So it's always sub-maximal work that you're performing to a maximal effort. Now, why is that important? Why does that matter in weightlifting, right? Well, weightlifting is 3 attempts to snatch, 3 attempts to clean and jerk, right? It is high intensity. It's a high intensity sport. It's a high intensity skill sport, right? So you need to be able to snatch and clean and jerk 3 attempts at a high intensity, and you need to be able to replicate that. Your first attempt's typically 90, 92%, right? That's still a high intensity. Then you go 97, 98, maybe a PR attempt for your second, right? And then a third attempt, if you miss, you go for the PR, or you go for that lift. And then third attempt, or if you hit it, you go crazy for something that you want on the bar. But it is a repeated high intensity skill based sport, right? So how does this apply to collegiate athletics? In the weight room, right? We got to think about what the point of the weight room is for what the point of strength and conditioning is for collegiate athletics, for athletes in general, right? And I've talked about this in the what is the role of a coach, what is the role of the athlete, what is our job, basically. I've talked about this in numerous episodes. But our job is to prepare the athlete to perform the best in their sport, right? So you've heard strength coaches, we're not making weightlifters. Man, we don't need weightlifting because we're not making weightlifters. It's the dumbest argument I've ever heard in my life, because you'll spend 20 minutes perfecting their squat form, even though you're not making power lifters, but you won't clean or you won't snatch because we're not making weightlifters. Well, then what the hell are you doing? Why are we doing bench press? Bench press is the least bang for your buck exercise there is. You're literally laying down. You're taking half your body out of it. You're laying down and you're just pressing with your chest. Do an overhead press. Do push-ups. Do bent over rows. Do anything else. Bench press is the least bang for your buck, but coaches will spend entire workouts on bench press. And then they'll turn around and say, we don't Olympic lift because we're not making Olympic lifters. You're not making power lifters either. Get the bench press out of there then. You want to talk about bang for your buck? A clean, a full depth clean is going to go way further for athleticism than a bench press ever will. An overhead press will go further for your athleticism than a bench press ever will. And for linemen too, don't come at me with these, linemen need to punch. Cool. You know where they punch from? They punch from their hips. They punch from getting out of their stance into that aggressive triple extension, and they put their body into the person, not just their hands. Quick hands is not going to, it'll help a little bit, sure, but the power comes from the hips and the legs, and it always has. It always will, because your hips, legs, glutes, and back are going to do way more heavy lifting than your arms and chest ever can. It's just anatomy and physiology. So I'm on a tangent now, but if you ever say I don't do Olympic lifts, or I don't need to perfect the technique because we're not making Olympic lifters, then why the hell are you spending so much time on bench press, on squats, on trap bar deadlifts, or even straight bar deadlifts? Like shit. Your strength and conditioning is basically powerlifting a little bit faster and a little bit, sub-maximal than they probably could do for rate of force development. Cool. Then don't tell me we're not making Olympic lifters if you're not making power lifters either. If your argument, if I walk in and say, is this football player going to power lift? Well, no, that's silly. We're not making power lifters. Well, then why the hell are they doing powerlifting? Powerlifting is, you'll get strong, sure, but throw a snatch and clean and jerk in there and you have to translate that power from the strength you're developing. or else they're going to be slow athletes and they're going to be shit off the line or shit off the ball or whatever, shit off the plate if they're trying to steal, or shit power when they're hitting, or whatever sport you're in. They're not going to have that power expression if you're just powerlifting the whole time. And then you turn around and say, I'm not making weightlifters, I don't care about their technique. Well, then what kind of coach are you? It should be technique no matter what. I sit there, I'm not making powerlifters or weightlifters right now. And if somebody comes in and says, I want to, comes in and says, I'm a high school football player, guess what? I'm going to make them strong for a phase, and then I'm going to take that strength and I'm going to translate it into power for a phase, probably closer to their season, so they're peaking for season. That way, they're able to we can maintain strength and peak, and probably push it a little bit, which is circling back to the topic of this. I'll go piggybacking off of what Carl said in the last podcast. But maybe increase in the season because we have that base of strength and we've already translated that power. And once we've translated the power from that strength, we need to build it. We're at a new base camp. We need to keep going up that mountain with strength now. So don't sit here and tell me we're not making weightlifters, so we don't need to worry about their technique, or I don't need to be good at cleans, or I can starfish, reverse curl a clean because we're not making weightlifters. If you're not making powerlifters either, get that argument out of the damn conversation, because that's a bad mentality and that's bad coaching. Anyway, now that tangent, I'm off that tangent. But circling back, right? So I'm going to be kind of all over Carl's conversation because he just made a lot of good points, and I'm just kind of this is free flow thoughts now, right? This is strength coach thoughts. It's just me ranting about strength coach stuff. So one thing Carl mentioned was the week before their season was over, they were maxing. They had new maxes. It wasn't they were maxing out like let's test them. They were hitting PRs in their normal complex that he does. So I don't know what the complex looks like. I've seen it a handful of times. I do know it's variations of snatch and clean and jerk, and that's basically the way we talked about it. So when we saw this problem at the beginning of the season, he was telling me, I'm not getting through I'm barely getting through my A block, let alone B and C blocks. And I just looked at him and said, why have more then? Why not? Why not just have an A block then? Like if you're programming it and we're not getting there, what's the point of having it? Correctives are pointless if there's nothing to correct. If you're just doing correctives just to do correctives, that's a waste of time. If you're doing accessories just because you need to have accessories because some book says have accessories in there, that's a waste of time. Like, be a better coach. Do more critical thinking about than that. So basically what the problem was at the beginning of the season when I was still there, he had 2 times a week, 30-ish minutes a lift, right? So I told him, okay, you have snatches and clean and jerks in there already. And then you're trying to do squats and you're trying to do all this other stuff. Let's just do a snatch complex one day and then a clean and jerk complex the other day. And then you start with some, neuromuscular stuff. You start with some hops, a little bit of warm the nervous system up, warm the body up. But we're not spending all day on it, right? The best warm up in the weight room is mimicking the movement you're going to do. So grab a bar, do a barbell warm up, start putting lightweight on, and start going. It's the best warm up you can do. So we started doing that. One day would be a snatch complex. The other day would be a clean and jerk complex. Now, if we're looking at like the list of things we need to check off, all right, stay with me here. Snatch complex, you come in, all right? So let's say you start from the floor. You do a snatch pull into the hip, okay? There's your pulling strength. There's your deadlift, right? Then you're at the hip, you're at the hip. So now you can load into any position hang that you want, or do a hip snatch, whatever you want to do. But hang to hip snatches, or you go back to the floor. So you do a pull, you control the eccentric back to the floor, you do a kiss, so you touch the ground, then you snatch from there. There's your power. So you're doing strength and power. Check, we got those. Then once you stand the bar up, so whether you power snatched or full snatched or whatever, do an overhead squat. Boom, there's overhead stability and strength right there you're training. So now you're training overhead stability. So you're training shoulders, back, your arms, your wrists. You're training your upper, mid, lower back. You're getting stabilizers through your hips. You're stabilizing your knees when you do your overhead squat. You're getting mobility through the freaking roof there. So you sit down, you do an overhead squat, you drop the bar. Boom, we just checked so many boxes in that complex. It's clean and jerk. All right. So I'm going to get into the percentages after this, but clean and jerk, same thing. So you have a snatch complex. You do a complex like that. Maybe snatch pull plus mid hang snatch plus overhead squat. You work up to a heavy percentage there. Boom. That's all we need to do for the day. We check 50 different boxes. Clean and jerk. All right. Now, same thing. You can do a clean pull plus hang clean plus front squat plus push press plus jerk. I mean, if you really want to go crazy with it, or you do just a jerk, just an overhead kind of movement, right? Same thing. You were doing a clean pull. There's your strength, whatever. There's your deadlift component. Then you're doing a hang clean. There's your power producing ability, right? Then you do a front squat. There's a front squat. It's a front squat. I mean, we all know what a front squat is. It's good for everything, right? And then you do some kind of overhead pressing movement, whether it's a strict press or a power producing press or a jerk or something like that. All right, then you slam the bar down. We're having fun. Now, I've done a blog article on this, and I'll probably do a podcast episode on this coming up. But Coach Mike, what about core training? Fuck your core training. Snatch pull, you need to brace your core. Hang snatch, you need to brace your core. To catch the snatch, you need to be able to dynamically release, pull yourself under the bar, and then re-brace in order to catch that bar. You stand the weight up, you breathe out. Guess what? You have an overhead squat. Brace the core again. Stand up. Clean and jerks. You're done snatches, right? Let's move on to day 2. We have clean and jerks. Well, okay, clean pull. You need to brace your core. Then to do a hang clean, you need to brace your core. Again, you need to dynamically be able to extend, loosen your core enough to pull underneath the bar, be dynamic enough, re-brace your core to absorb that weight on your chest, and then stand it up with the front squat. Why does everybody love front squats? It's anterior loaded, it's a core and all that core activation, all that nonsense, right? Then you got to do a press. You need to stabilize your trunk, your core, in order to be able to press the weight up overhead. Why do you need to do core training? Your sit-ups, your Russian twists, your little bicycle crunches are not doing jack shit over heavy snatches, heavy clean and jerks. I'll say it again. Direct ab training is fucking pointless if you're doing heavy compound movements. Why am I going to waste time sitting there doing fucking 30 bullshit bicycle crunches when I just did a 90% CJ complex and I'm walking away and my core is already hurting from how hard I braced? Why? Critical thinking again. Direct core training is pointless then. Oh, you need dynamic trunk stabilization. Cool, do a split jerk. Can you dynamically stabilize your upper body and split your lower body? Like, do a split jerk. Why are we laying on the ground doing bicycle crunches? Why are we laying on the ground as an athlete? Why? Stay on your feet, do things on your feet like an athlete does. Like, get the hell out of here with the nonsense. We don't need correctives. We don't need direct core training. We don't need a 20-minute foam rolling, stretching, activation warm-up. Get the hell out of here. Grab a barbell, move the barbell around, put some weight on it, start working. Like, you go on my training videos on the channel or playlist on this channel. Look at my warm-up. I hop around. I do a few squats. I warm the legs up. The hopping around is my nervous system activation. I grab a bar and move the bar around. I get loose. 50 kilos on the bar, 70 kilos on the bar. Now we're rolling. 70, 90, 110. We're rolling, right? It's time to work. And I feel fantastic doing that. I don't need to. I don't. There's nothing you guys don't see. The only things I edit out of the training videos are me sitting around on my phone. That's it. Or cleaning the gym in between. The stuff you guys don't care about. I'm not editing anything. Like, I'm not doing 20 minutes of foam rolling and then I start rolling the camera. No. You guys see me from when I start warming up. I don't spend 20 minutes foam rolling. I'm 32 years old. I'm still competing at a high level in weightlifting. I feel the greatest I've felt in my entire life. That's being in the Marines, playing college football, being a power lifter for sure. I felt like shit as a power lifter, and then started in weightlifting, and this is the most athletic I've ever felt. I can jump higher. I can land better. I'm twitchier. I'm better as an athlete. I'm an athletic now because of the weightlifting movements at a high effort. I don't spend time foam rolling, stretching, all that bullshit. It's a waste of time. Your body, your mind has a finite focus. I have freaking ADHD, ADD, ABC, LMNOP, whatever the hell you want to call it. But like, I have finite focus. I love weightlifting. I can be in the gym maybe 2 hours, and that's about all I got. So if my snatch, clean and jerk, and squats are taking longer than that, that's all I got. Like, try again tomorrow. I ain't got time to 20-minute foam roll activation. Let me do, Turkish get-ups and stabilize my shoulder. You know how to stabilize your shoulder? Put a fucking bar over your head and stabilize your shoulder. Like, fuck. It's not complicated. It's not rocket science. It's not it's not all the science that exercise science is being. Exercise first, and then when you plateau and you have nowhere else to go, maybe look at the science then and figure out what the problem is. But you got to exercise first. Anyway, this has been a tangent. This has been a long tangent. What was I talking about? Anyway, so snatch complex, clean and jerk complex. You're checking all these boxes. You don't need bullshit core training. You don't need bullshit warm up nonsense, right? Conditioning. Well, guess what? The best conditioning for your sport is probably playing your sport. I mean, guys, this isn't rocket science. This isn't anything revolutionary. This is shit we've known since the 60s and 70s. What's the best conditioning for basketball? Play fucking basketball. What's the best condition for football? Play fucking football. Go out and do the sport. You don't need to run 50 gassers to get in shape to do 10 seconds of play and then stand around for a minute in a huddle and the umpires fucking doing whatever bullshit, the referees, whatever. Like, you don't, like, what? Baseball conditioning. I mean, I remember my professor for exercise science at John Carroll. He was a head strength coach for the Astros. He told us baseball is the laziest sport you can play. You stand around for 90% of the time. Why the fuck are we spending so much time on conditioning if all they got to do is run fucking 20 yards to the next base or 30 yards to the next base in a sprint and then go sit in the dugout for fucking, however many other batters you get that inning? Like, fuck, you're sitting down half the game. Like, what? Go play your sport. There's your conditioning work. Like, the weight room is the weight room. And I'm not saying strength and conditioning coaches aren't conditioning coaches, but like, strength first. Strength is first in that, strength and conditioning. All right. So why does this work? Okay. Let's go to the percentages now. Why does this work? What we talked about, and Carl does lifts with me when he's able to, or when I'm around or whatever. Like, he jumps in every now and then. He's not doing the program per se. But anytime I show up, it's like, all right, here's what we're doing. Like, you're lifting with me and here's what we're doing. So he gets little appetizers, little samples of the true Pendlay method. So this works because it is auto regulation. If we want to start talking strength and conditioning side, the percentages range. So there's typically 4 percentages. Okay. There's your top percentage is going to be probably 92%. That is make coach smile. That's what Carl talked about. I'm gonna work backwards. So that is making coach smile. John talks all the time about Glenn Pendlay. He would sit there in a chair in front of all the lifters and he would just have that straight face. You'd hit a lift. Go up, John. Go up. Keep going. And he knew in his head what you were going to do that day. If you exceeded that, like John's thing with this was like trying to make Glenn smile, trying to put that smile on his face. Like, you went above and beyond my expectations for you today. Like, good job. You get an attaboy. You get that attaboy. That's what the make coach smile is, right? Then underneath that, so the next percentage down, typically is going to be a high 80%, 88, 87%. And that's the get that wolf or get that dog, right? That is like you're pushing it for the day. You're doing well. You're getting after it that day, right? It's not, I mean, Mako Smile was like freaking, we did not see that coming a mile away. Get that wolf is like, yeah, that you should be doing that, but like, good job today. Then you go down from there, okay, to the target. The target is what I have in mind for you that day. So if I say I want today to be an 80% lift on your complex, 80% is the target, okay? Nice and simple. And then the minimum is if you feel like absolute shit, I at least need you to do high 70s, 78, 76, something like that, right? And that is like you are having the worst day of your life. I still need you performing at that. That's the minimum I'm asking of you today. All right. So it's anywhere from high 70s to high 90s. It's your range percentages. Now, again, why does this work? Okay. So auto regulation. We're talking about letting the athletes kind of dictate where their workout goes. So snatch day, you come in, say for easy math, my snatch is 100 kilos. All right. I come in, I say minimum is 70, target is 78. or excuse me, minimum of 78. Target is like 83. Get that wolf is 87, and then make coach smiles like 92. Okay, kilos because it's all off 100 kilos, so it's exact percentages. Hmm. So my starters, my athletes that see a lot of playing time, and this can be for any sport. My athletes that see the most minutes, however you're tracking that, whether it's catapult, just a spreadsheet, some statistician keeping record of that, whatever stats you're getting it from. The athletes that see the most playing time, I'm gonna want them in the minimum to target range. If they hit that, I'm happy because they are in a higher level of stress. They're playing more. They're more engaged in their sport, so they're practicing harder. Typically, your starters are practicing a little harder than your non-starters, or they're a little older, right? Your seniors, juniors, a little older than your freshman, sophomore, or a little more experienced, or whatever you want to say. But if they hit minimum a target, I'm happy because they're probably a little beat up from playing a lot, travel, all that stuff. All right. Then my non-starters or my lowest playing time athletes. You got to remember in sport, anything can happen. I could have my starting point guard, go up for a rebound for some reason, or just shoot, like throw up a little shot, a little jumper, and come down weird on the ankle. And now they're out for the game. Okay, I need my next point guard to be in. I need them ready to go. And if I haven't conditioned them, if they're not at the same conditioning strength, if they're not at the same physical capacity as that starter, then we got a problem. Because now their demand just went through the roof that they're not ready for. So I want my lowest playing time athletes to be getting that wolf or making coach smile because they are a little fresher from playing. So everybody should equal out. Now, what I did not expect, which I did expect because I know these girls pretty well, and D1 athletes are D1 athletes. They're just that, they're athletes, so they're not gonna take minimums. That's usually not what gets people to D1 level, just personality wise. So I was very surprised to hear that most of the athletes, I mean, it sounded like from what Carl was saying, all the athletes were pushing to that make coach smile mark. They were pushing 90+% frequently, like in season. In season, again, this is in season. We're talking, which goes in the face of traditional S&C thought, especially in longer seasons like basketball, baseball, track and field, sports like that, where it's thought, we need to maintain them and then peak them and all that nonsense, right? John says there is no peak. Stay strong. Be ready. Like, you should be able to it could be a Thursday and you should be ready to compete on a Saturday, be in a competition on Saturday. And then guess what? Do that again next weekend and then do it again next weekend. You stay ready. You stay strong. If we can do that in weightlifting, which is a highly intense skill sport, you can do that in baseball. You can do that in basketball. You can do that in track and field. Track and field is probably the most similar to weightlifting that I would have to argue, skill intensity wise. It is maximal effort. It is a maximal effort at a given event. That is a skill event. You can train, running. You could train throwing. You could train hurdling, jumping, all that stuff. Just like you could train weightlifting. So weightlifting and track and field, I believe, have very, very, very similar training styles and methodologies that can be translated. But anyway, that's another tangent. So this program works because it is an auto regulation program in a max intensity, max effort style, right? So now what you're doing is you're at lift, right? You're lifting before or after practice, typically with basketball, with our girls. So you're coming in and you're either warming up for practice or you're coming from practice. And let me tell you now, these girls sometimes coming from practice were the best lifts we ever had, and they were tired. Their legs were tired. Their practices are no joke. Don't think, oh, they had easy practice. That's why. No, their practices are no joke. They're coming in gasping still. They're coming in sore. They're coming in beat up. They're hitting the fueling station a little hard before we start lift. And those are some of the best lifts I've seen out of them. even, I mean, I'm not taking away from pre-practice lifts. Some pre-practice lifts are phenomenal as well. So it is not a, oh, they warmed up more in practice, which is why, no, it's not, it has nothing to do with that. I'm telling you right now. But what it is and what my hypothesis was, and like I said, I'm going to start doing my postdoctorate once I finish my doctorate here in the summer semester. So next semester, the end of the semester when I defend, um, what my postdoctorate work is going to be is exactly this: using this method within collegiate athletics, and basically knocking down the school of thought of minimum in season crap, minimum whatever, like isometric, eccentric, nine, like whatever bullshit nonsense we're doing. That's not like, we're not even lifting anymore. We're barely touching a barbell. Like we're literally touching an empty barbell and we're putting maximal isometric contraction. Like fucking cool, man. Like fucking cool. But like, grab a barbell and fucking rip it off the floor. Like the fuck. Because in sport, you're either eccentric or concentric. I don't know, a lot of time in sport you're isometric. Like I mean, if you don't know, eccentric is lengthening of the muscle, concentric is shortening of the muscle, isometric is static, no change of the muscle. It is force through the muscle, but there's no lengthening or shortening. Which has, it does have implications for injury prevention and blah 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 blah. But athletic performance, I don't know, man. I mean, there is research, there is science. I think it's a highly specialized thing. I don't think it's anything necessary like for 99% of the people. Um, anyway, so mindset wise, we talked a lot about in the podcast about the girls' mindset, how, and that's what the intensity does. Training at a high intensity, maximal effort every day or every lift, it changes your brain, it changes your mindset. So now, as we talked about on the other podcast with Carl, now you could be down at halftime and you could be against a dog of a team. So what? You're against the barbell every single time you touch it. It's you versus that barbell. That barbell is not your friend. That barbell is your enemy. That barbell is trying to come down and kill you. And if you can tame that barbell, if you can bully that barbell, well, then you can walk out and bully another team. Yeah, they're human beings. That's a little more dynamic, but so what? Max effort on the court every bout. Oh, I'm tired. I'm out of breath. It's a long series, or oh, whatever. So what? You're tired. You're out of breath. You're sore. You still got to perform and hit that lift. That's what the max effort mentality trains you. That's what GWL competing against. When I come out and say I wasn't planning on going heavy, and then an athlete calls me out in the GWL and starts pushing me, and then we're burning clocks, and I don't have a lot of clock to catch my breath. So what? So what? It's me against the barbell. It's me against that athlete. It's competition. It's that max effort mentality. I'm going to put maximal effort into this bar and see what happens. And you know what? 9 times out of 10, I'm going to come out on fucking top because it's just a barbell. It's just an opponent. It's just another team. If you're at a D1 level and you're working with D1 athletes, you've done it. You got to that level. You know your sport. So now it's just another play. It's just another shot. Maximum effort. Let's go. You know what you're doing. Confident. Intensity. Get after it. We don't need to play games with this shit. Anyway, so the last thing I'm going to say about this, I've been on too many tangents, more tangents than I thought I would be on with this podcast. It fires me up because this is the way SNC should be. SNC has gotten way too much data driven science bullshit because of money and because of how do we quantify progress in SNC? Fucking hard hitting motherfuckers. That's how. And I'm talking men and women. All right. If my post goes up for a rebound, she's knocking other girls down because she's got that much power and that much fucking strength to her. Well, then that's hard hitting motherfucker. Well, how do we justify a strength coach? That's how. Look at how the fucking people are moving. Like, oh shit, we're getting down the court pretty good. Oh shit, look at how hard we're hitting. Oh shit, look at how hard we're hitting the ball. Like, what do you mean? How do I quantify it? I don't need a fucking spreadsheet and graphs and fucking stand at a board meeting and be like, hey, well, in the last year we were, on a team average, our velocity was this, and this year, like, shut the fuck up. Like, shut up. Are your people hard hitting motherfuckers or not? That's it. And how do we justify strength and conditioning? How do you not? Why do you need to justify it? How are you not justified in it? How are we in 2025 still having conversations? I don't know if we need strength coaches. I don't know. I mean, is the ROI there, or is it? What the fuck are you talking about? Be the program without a strength coach and watch how quickly other programs eat your fucking lunch. Be the program that doesn't have one. Even a shitty strength coach is probably better than no strength coach. But I mean, why? We don't need the fucking data. We don't need all this science nerdy shit. And I'm getting a fucking doctorate in kinesiology. I've done the sports science. I've done the dashboards. I've done all the spreadsheets and all the fucking meetings about KPIs and bullshit. Like, I've done it. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't. Because guess what? I could be. I'm realistically let's not say realistically. I have snatched 145, 171. Does that mean every single time I snatch, I'm going to snatch 145, 171? Fuck no. Doesn't mean that. What do you mean? That's my max. Am I gonna try it? Yeah, but am I gonna be consistent with it? No. Okay, so our team increased their whatever by this much. Okay, cool, but you're talking maxes now, or maybe you're talking averages. It means nothing if your if your losses are more than your wins. If your athletes don't understand the game, like strength and conditioning is fucking easy. It's really easy. 99.95% of athletes, even at the D1 level, need the same most basic shit. And guess what? If you look at strength programs across the country, everybody's doing the same thing or a variation of the same thing. And you know what? The programs that are doing something different or doing their own thing, maybe they're successful, but I'd argue they're successful because they have the right athletes. The best to ever do it, Scott Cochran. 60 minutes interview. You know what he said? He said, I'm just getting Bentleys and I'm putting the fucking spinners on, baby. You know what he was doing in SNC? Probably the same fucking thing. Some squat, bench, deadlift, overhead press, probably some kind of clean and jerk or snatch, or maybe not snatching, but we're doing some compound movements in some 3x5, 5x5, maybe some singles, 3x3s, whatever the hell, in some set rep scheme that's common across the board. And then they're doing some accessory stuff, probably position specific, and then they're doing conditioning. Like it's the same thing. Strength and conditioning is not rocket science. It's not. For 99.95% of people, they need the basic same stuff. And you know what? Doing a snatch complex and a clean and jerk complex, and you give them 4 percentages to pick from, and you let them improve strength and power that way in season, watch how quickly shit improves. Again, they had a phenomenal season. They lost 1 game in conference, 3 games overall all season. They were PRing at the end of the season. Their jumps on their jump boards. I can't think of the name now. They're the force plates. They were doing the counter movement jump on the force plates. Their velocity on the gym awares. All metrics went up. Which, guess what? In season, at the end of a basketball season, everything in traditional SNC sees them taper down. Sees them, oh, look, their power output's down. Their strength is down. Of course, they're tired. They're in season. It's the end of the season. They're tired. They're beat up. Their bodies are exhausted. Okay, cool. We just showed that we can go max effort all the time in season and improve every metric and have a phenomenal season. What's your excuse? Injuries were down. Okay, well, high intensity can't be maintained because of injuries. Injuries were down. Like, what else you want me to say? The Pendlay method works in college athletics. Give me a football team now. I'll take a football team through the Pendlay method every fucking day. Because now you give me some dudes with the mentality, and now don't get me wrong, these girls are fucking dogs. They got that mentality. Like, they will get after anything we throw at them. You give me a bunch of hard-hitting dudes like that, like a football team that wants to fucking compete with each other, and that's the other thing, the competition. The girls competing with each other, saying, get out of my rack if you're going to do some bullshit. Go to your own rack and do some bullshit. You're coming over here, you're lifting some fucking weight. Give me a bunch of dogs. Give me dogs, and I'll show you how the Pendlay method works. And maybe that's the common denominator here. Maybe it's not the Pendlay method that works in college athletics. Maybe it is just having some dogs and we're putting spinners on the Bentley and we could throw anything at them and then it'll work. I'm just going to close this out with saying don't be afraid to try something new. Understand the science? Sure. Understand exercise science. Best practice based on the research. Understand a lot of research is just fucking bullshit research. It's a lot of fluff research for people to finish their GAs and get their master's degrees or, get a doctorate in some abstract nonsense thing. Like, I'm glad the research is done, but I saw a doctorate or a research article that was released the other day saying basketball is a contact sport and here's why. And it was a research article. Like people did research on this. And I'm sitting back like, yeah, I've worked at basketball. I could have told you it's a contact sport. Like, who's saying it's not a contact sport? Like, understand the exercise, that the science of exercise is important, but I don't need to sit in an isokinetic machine and see how much output my muscles are giving on an EMG. Like, I don't need to see that. If your clean and jerk is shit, if your squat is shit, if you're shit at jumping, I don't care what the isokinetic machines tell me. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't need to go to a 3D marker tracker, thing where you put the stickers on me and you're pushing, 0.5% more with your right leg than your left leg. We have asymmetries. I don't know. Like, I don't need that. Like, cool. We does it matter? Does it really matter at the end of the day? Like, if you're not strong enough and you're not powerful enough for your sport and you suck at your sport, I don't need all that to tell me like you just suck. You need to get stronger and more powerful. Like, oh, I don't know why I'm, faster. Or I don't know why I can jump off my right leg versus my left leg. Well, it's most people are one leg dominant. Like, if you're right-handed, you're likely right leg dominant, and if you're left-handed, you're likely left leg dominant. Crazy thought there. And maybe vice versa. Like, it's whatever. There's a dominance. It's not an asymmetry, but also, like, why does it matter? For me, for weightlifting, I split jerk. My left leg goes forward every single time. It's not an asymmetry, but why would I switch my legs? Why would I go right leg forward sometimes and left leg forward sometimes to even them out? That's what? Our bodies are not that dumb. Like, if I do 10 reps on one leg of split squats and I do 8 reps on the other leg, my body's not like, oh no, we're 2 reps shy on that leg. That means we're a little weaker on that leg. Get that. Our bodies are not that dumb. We evolved from freaking chasing predator animals down for food, from climbing trees for honey and like carbohydrate sources to get energy to keep doing that. Our bodies have not become so stupid that if I split jerk on my left leg only, that my right leg is atrophying or something because I only split on my left. I need to balance it out. That's a dumb argument. It's a weightlifting argument that I used to hear. I don't hear much anymore, thankfully. But no, if you're a weightlifter, you don't need to balance it out because if you split, you have a dominant leg that should go forward based on your body's preference. Don't jack that up just for symmetry. That's stupid. Anyway, I don't know if this podcast has even been good. I have no idea what I've talked about. This free thought thing might need to change. I might need to script this out a little bit, like maybe a bullet point outline, just to stay on task and stay on topic. But long story short, this was a good trial run of the Pendlay method with collegiate athletics. I just wanted to piggyback off some points Carl made, which I may have done. I don't know. There's a lot of tangents. It's a lot of. I apologize. I'm still gassed up from the GWL from competing, so this was a heated podcast. But again, don't be afraid to push your athletes. Your athletes are capable of a lot more than you think they are. People in general are capable of a lot more than you think. I came in today for GWL thinking, wow, I feel like shit. I'm lifting like shit. I've been lifting bad for the past couple of weeks. I'm tired. It's heavy. I should be lifting more, blah, 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 doing all that shit. Got on my head with snatches. I don't know what happened with snatches, but, I should have hit 37 at least. 41 was a PR for comp. Like, all right, that's fair enough. I shouldn't have missed the way I did, but, it was a big mind game. And then it came into CJs, and CJs are where I've been struggling the past couple of weeks. And it took the competition. It took an athlete saying, "Hey, I'm coming for you. Let's go." To get me to show what I'm capable of. So, if you're a strength coach and you've listened to this and you've gotten this far, thank you. First of all, I know it's been a lot of rants, a lot of just nonsense, senseless rambling. But if you have made it this far, thank you, and I appreciate it. And thank you for listening to my rambling and for venting, for listening to me vent. I guess I don't know, but again, if you like the headbands I wear, it's Vertical Athletics. Use code Coach Mike for 15% off. Make sure you like and subscribe, like this video, subscribe to the channel. I'm posting, daily training videos. I post weekly podcasts. I post shorts every day now. Doing the shorts thing because YouTube loves the shorts now. So we are at, last I checked, we're at 80 subscribers now. So let's try to get those 20 more and hit 100 and see what happens from there. So again, sorry for the long rants and tangents. Thanks for listening. I've been Coach Mike. This is Strength Coach Thoughts. I'll see you next time.